The journey toward the light of truth often begins with a deep search for the meaning of life, an unquenchable curiosity, and a thirst for answers to soul-stirring questions. This is the story of Professor James D. Frankel, a prominent scholar in the field of comparative religion at the University of Hawaii. Born into a secular Jewish family in New York in 1969, he spent his early years far from spiritual beliefs. However, a winding path of life led James to encounter Islam, a religion he had initially observed only from afar through the Quran given by a friend. From a young age, James was raised in a secular Jewish family. At the age of 13, he chose to become a communist after reading Karl Marx's works. James had a friend from Pakistan named Mansour. This friend gave him a Quran and asked him to read it. Perhaps this was James's first encounter with a Muslim. "I don't want you to go to hell," James recalled Mansour saying. At that time, James did not believe in hell. However, out of respect for Mansour, he took the Quran and placed it on a bookshelf at home. Years later, while studying in Washington, James began to abandon his communist views and question the meaning of life that had haunted him since childhood. He often pondered, why are humans born? Where do we go after death? Why do people suffer? One day he received news that his grandmother had passed away. Deeply saddened, he flew to New York to attend the funeral. It was then that James had the opportunity to ask a rabbi about the meaning of life, but he received no satisfying answer. James began searching for God and the answers to all the questions that had long plagued him. He returned to New York before the new semester started. One day, while walking in Times Square, very different from today, he noted, "Back then, you could find many preachers from various religious sects." James enjoyed engaging in conversations with one of them about religion, albeit with skepticism. He once observed a group of black men in robes praying. He approached them to ask about their ritual. One of them told James he could not join because he was a devil. According to the preacher, all white people were devils. James argued, "If I'm truly a devil, why do I keep searching for God?" Back home, James remembered the Quran Mansour had given him 6 years earlier. He immediately opened and began reading it. He found no verses declaring him or other white people as devils. He read on until he fell asleep and continued reading the next morning. The Quran provided answers to all the questions that had haunted him since childhood. It explained clearly about the creator of the universe. James felt as if the author of the book was speaking directly to him. "I've never experienced anything like this. I unconsciously cried while reading. At times, my hair stood on end. It truly felt like I was reading God's words," James reflected. In January 1990, James attended a high school reunion where friends gathered and shared life stories. When a friend asked about his beliefs, James replied that he now believed in God. His friends, knowing him as a communist, were surprised. One of them asked which God he believed in. James explained there is only one God. He shared what he had learned from the Quran, that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Upon hearing this, Mansour immediately declared that James had become a Muslim. James initially laughed, thinking that only Mansour was a Muslim, while he merely believed in one God. Mansour explained that acknowledging Allah as the only deity and Muhammad as his messenger meant he was indeed a Muslim. James was astonished. For the first 6 to 8 months of his new life as a Muslim, he practiced Islam guided solely by the Quran and books provided by Mansour. Professor James D. Frankel's journey to Islam proves that guidance can come from unexpected directions to anyone sincerely seeking truth. From someone distant from religion and once embracing communism, James found peace and answers to his lifelong questions in the divine words of the Quran. His spiritual transformation shows that true faith arises from genuine search, deep thought, and an open heart. James's story inspires us with the understanding that Hidayah, divine guidance, is a gift from Allah, transcending race, color, and background. His life reminds us that those who sincerely seek God will be guided to a straight path. May this story enrich our faith, deepen our gratitude, and motivate us to continue studying Islam with sincerity and devotion. Luna is a woman from Denmark who was born and raised in a family that had no knowledge of Islam at all. In her neighborhood, Islam was often seen as a foreign religion and even full of negative stereotypes. Like most people in the West, she grew up with the understanding that Islam is a strict religion with many rules. However, life often brings unexpected surprises. Luna's journey to discovering Islam did not begin with books or religious lectures, but with something simpler: observing the Muslims around her. Luna first began to notice the differences in the way her Muslim friends lived. She observed how they carried themselves with calmness and patience. What surprised her the most was that they never spoke ill of other religions, even when people around them often criticized or belittled other beliefs. One day, Luna asked one of her friends, "Why do you never speak badly about other religions? Don't you also believe that your religion is the most true?" Her friend smiled and replied, "Islam teaches us to respect all beliefs. We believe that everyone has their own path in seeking God, and it is not our place to belittle them." That answer left a deep impression on Luna. She had never heard anyone talk about religion in that way. Usually, religious debates in the West were filled with criticism and conflict. But here, she found something different, something that felt more peaceful and full of respect. Luna's interest in Islam grew even more. She began asking her friends more questions about their religion. One day, she accidentally saw one of her friends praying. She was mesmerized by how deeply focused and calm her friend seemed, as if she were speaking directly to God. Curious, Luna asked, "What do you feel when you pray?" Her friend gently replied, "I feel at peace. I feel close to God, as if all my worries and problems disappear for a moment." Luna fell silent. She tried to imagine what it would be like to have that kind of relationship with God, a relationship filled with tranquility, not fear or obligation. From there, she began reading more about Islam. She learned about prayer, fasting, and other Islamic teachings. She also came across inspiring stories of people who had found peace in Islam. However, the more she learned, the more she faced a big question. Do I really want to become a Muslim? Although her heart was beginning to be drawn to Islam, Luna couldn't simply ignore the fear inside her. How would her family react? What about her non-Muslim friends? Was she ready to live a life with an identity different from most of the people around her? She struggled with these questions for months. She tried to find reasons not to move forward, but the more she tried to avoid it, the more she felt that her heart had already found its answer. One night, she sat alone in her room reflecting. She realized that all this time, she had been searching for something that could bring peace and meaning to her life. And now, after discovering Islam, she felt as though she had found what she had been searching for all along. With a racing heart, she finally decided, "I want to become a Muslim." When the day came, Luna felt a mix of nervousness and happiness. She went to a mosque, accompanied by some of her Muslim friends. With a slightly trembling voice, she recited the Shahada, "I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah." As those words left her mouth, she felt something extraordinary, a peace she had never felt before. Her tears fell, not out of sadness, but because of the deep happiness within her. She knew that her life would change after this. She would face challenges, possibly lose some friends, and maybe even face rejection from her family. But she also knew one thing. She had found the truth she had been searching for all along. As she had expected, Luna's decision to become Muslim was not easily accepted by everyone around her. Some of her friends and family were shocked, and some even tried to persuade her to change her mind. "Why did you choose Islam? Isn't it a religion full of rules?" Luna smiled and replied, "It is precisely because of the rules that I feel more at peace. Islam teaches me to live better, to be more disciplined, and to value time more." Although not everyone could accept her decision, Luna never regretted it. She continued to learn, to delve deeper into Islam, and she fell more in love with the religion that had now become a part of her life. Now, Luna often shares her story with others. She wants to show that Islam is not a religion that restricts, but a religion full of love, peace, and meaning. She wants to prove that anyone can find Islam, even in the most unexpected places. For her, the journey to Islam is not the end, but the beginning of a deeper spiritual adventure. Luna's story is proof that guidance can come from anywhere, even from small things like seeing someone pray or hearing calming words. She didn't search for Islam, but Islam found her. And when her heart opened to accept the truth, she knew that she had found her true spiritual home. Her journey was filled with challenges, but also with happiness. And most importantly, she had found the peace she had been searching for all along.